Welcome to the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes of business leaders to uncover their vision, strategies, and challenges they face along the way. My name is Chris Bruner. I'm the CEO of Simple AI Solutions and the host of today's podcast. I'm excited to have Shelley Lovvorn, founder of Shelley Kristen Coaching. Shelley Kristen Coaching is recognized for empowering individuals and leaders to achieve their full potential, leveraging a unique blend of strategic guidance and personal development expertise. Shelley, thank you for being here. Can you please introduce yourself, tell our listeners a little about you, your business, and the clients you serve?
Yes. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me today. I'm Shelley Kristen Lovvorn. I am an integrative health coach. I use a holistic experience for my clients to just address whether it's physical, emotional, even relational, and all of the things on the what I call the wellness plate. So we can talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, I help people listen to their bodies and learn to understand themselves a little bit better in a holistic, whole body approach.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. I wanted to ask, what do you enjoy most about running your business?
Well, I would say the first thing is meeting people right where they are on their terms, whatever it is they're dealing with. They can just be completely open and just, all right, here's where I'm stuck. And so I love being able to be in that space with people. I think I'm very privileged to be able to do that. But also it's the flexibility. I get to create something meaningful and impactful, but also prioritize my values and be present for my one remaining child that's at home, who's 16, and also my husband. So it works well for both of those things.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And it's really interesting to see, just the little the research I've done and just to kind of see a little bit like the impact that you can have to make changes in people's lives to really help see and make those right choices. And so it's really cool to see. I wanted to ask, what is the single most important principle that guides your coaching approach in your business?
Yeah, well, and I referenced the wellness plate a second ago. So I would say that would be it. So the wellness plate, I usually, when I'm talking to my clients, I'll say the wellness plate, and it's sort of it's really life itself. But when we think about health, a lot of times the first image we have in our mind is it's a plate, it's what we eat. We think that's what health is. Like, oh, I eat healthy, but we don't factor in emotional wellness, even the spiritual aspect, mindset, all of these other things that actually affect our wellness as much as what we're eating. So, one thing that people typically don't realize is that stress spikes your blood sugar as high as a candy bar. And
Hmm.
we don't even factor that in, like, but I'm eating healthy. So I always talk about the wellness plate. I would say that's my biggest, you know, thing that I try to help everybody understand is all of the ways that they're being impacted in their health.
Yeah, no, and that's really important because I feel like it's so easy just to focus on one specific thing if it's, exercise or eating or yeah, like you said, stress, but in reality it is all of those factors playing a part and they affect each other. And so, yeah,
That's
that's
right.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about trends within the industry. What are some of the changes you're seeing in, the coaching, personal development industry right now?
Yeah. I think that people are wanting and realizing that they can have more autonomy in their health. They're no longer satisfied with being passive recipients, like handing it off to some other entity. They're understanding that they can actually be cooperative with it. Like they can learn a little bit more. They can pick and choose. They have a lot more say in this than they previously thought they could. We just kind of gave it away before without thinking about it in general. So I would say people want education, tools, empowerment, and not dependency.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You had mentioned tools. I was wondering, are there specific tools or strategies, perhaps with technology or automation that you're seeing within the industry? And
Mhm.
are you applying any of that in your business?
Yeah. I think accessibility is key. And especially in this area, but I think really with so many other things too. But for me, that accessibility is key. So technology is making wellness more accessible and more scalable also. So when we have these platforms where we can, utilize very professional approach and we can actually scale in a way that we could not possibly do before if we're kind of doing it all by I mean it's a complete game changer. So you can have a very professional business and have a very relational time oriented opportunity with your clients. And so for me that's what works.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And that having that accessibility with just all the new tools and the things that are coming out, it really does make sense. It makes the ability to reach people in a very personalized way, so much more doable in today's world. And yeah, that totally makes sense. Wanted to see in currently within your business, what is currently working really well?
I would say automations and email marketing are working extremely well. My systems allow me to nurture relationships consistently, but not having to actually get in there and do it all, So that's obviously, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer in today's marketplace. So I can stay hands-on with my presence with my clients, but I know that I've got automated things happening, in the
Yeah,
background. And I would
yeah,
say I'm not even utilizing them as much as I can. I'm kind of getting where I'm more dependent on them, but it's a process for me because it's still a rather new venture for me. So yeah.
yeah. And are you is just to kind of break that down a little bit more, is that like specifically like are you using like a cold email outreach or what
Yeah.
type of automations are you using?
Well, I use a platform called Agora. And so I'm actually wrote a list down. It has SMS marketing, email marketing, websites, funnels, automations, workflows, AI chat, ad reporting, payments, and invoicing. And I think there's more. I'm using most of those things to some degree, but I'm not even leveraging it as much as I could be. So I'm getting to
Yeah.
where, okay, now I can understand what I can do more. So and it is working really well. I mean, I wouldn't be able to, it's just not possible. Otherwise, you'd be hiring people, you know,
Yeah.
and I'd have
Yeah.
or I'd spend a lot more time in the back end trying to send out all my emails and things, but not cold emails. I'm not doing that. I'm just sending up follow-up information, also like newsletter type stuff and things like that.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And it is such an amazing tool to be able to use that kind of outreach. It's, even for myself, as I am running an AI automation agency, it is interesting to see all the new tools that are like constantly coming out and it's hard to keep up with even for someone in the midst of the industry, but it really is helping so many people with outreach in so many different ways. And so that totally makes sense. That's really cool to hear. Every business faces challenges and hurdles. I was wondering, could you share a business challenge that you've overcome recently and what that taught you?
I'm still in that. So my biggest bottleneck would be client outreach and social media clarity. So you're talking about all these kind of back end things, and that's really important, but there's still that forward facing social media part that, okay, I have access to some of this stuff, but for me, I'm having a hard time making it work for me, like do it enough and, all of the different things. So that's my personal place. And so I would love to kind of hand that off, but it's not really, it hasn't happened for me yet. But I
Yeah,
have strong systems.
yeah.
I have strong systems. Those are not the bottleneck. It's really more kind of me and trying to leverage the social media part. And then I can probably scale more quickly. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And it is a difficult thing to figure out. It's there's constantly new things coming out. There's constantly trying to figure out how to use it the most efficient way is not an easy thing, right? And so it definitely takes time, it takes learning, it takes, you know, trying it until you kind of find what works best. And so that totally makes sense. And yeah, I'm sure through that process, you're learning a lot. I know through personally, I can relate, as I've when I was, starting this business of mine, I found myself in a very similar spot where I'm like, I've got these amazing tools and I'm figuring out how to use it the most efficient way, the best way. And it takes time, but it once it clicks, it makes it so awesome to see the results and see all that good stuff. And so yeah, no, I totally can relate. That totally makes sense. I wanted to talk a little bit about the future and where you're heading. When you think about your business, maybe like 6 months to a year from now, what are some measurable goals that you're focusing on achieving within your business?
Yeah, I would say I really do want to maybe triple growth at the moment. That's like maybe a big ask, but I feel like that would be really awesome, and I think it's possible. I think I'm kind of at that kind of place where I'm about to, kind of get into a really good flow space with it. And my primary strategy would be actually this back to the social media part, expanding my social media presence, clarifying my niche. I think that's been part of my personal, back to the bottleneck question again, is like kind of trying to get perfect about it. That sometimes I think this is what you were somewhat alluding to, kind of getting in motion, kind of works the kinks out. So that's kind of where I'm at is, okay, I need to get in motion. I see that I need to. So I think streamlining my niche, my messaging, and then also fully implementing the back end systems that I actually have access to, that I have in place. I just need to actually leverage them a little bit more. I think they're there. And I think you said something similar a little bit in one of the other questions, but that things are changing all the time, but also it sometimes it's not so much that things are changing in the AI or technical space, but it's that we're using them more efficiently and more, maybe just more. And that feels like a whole new thing, like we've leveraged up, we've really done something new, but really it was already there, but we're getting in motion with it as well. And I think I mean, maybe, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but to
Yeah.
me, that feels like my experience.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it definitely, I think a lot of the up and coming technology with AI and a lot of that stuff, like it is becoming more and more relevant within businesses and leveraging it in different ways. And yeah, that totally makes sense. At first, it was, these huge corporations spending millions and millions of dollars pouring it into developing this AI and now it's making its way to the more small to mid-sized businesses where they're leveraging it for specific automations to help them either reduce time, reduce cost, right, or try to help with different outreach to try to gain revenue. And so yeah, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. And so yeah, no, that's cool. When you think about scaling your business, I know you mentioned you want to grow 3 times the amount. How would you define that growth more specifically? Are you trying to do just more clients? Are you trying to offer different resources, or is there something else in growth?
I'd say it's both of those things, but it isn't also just clients. So clients is obviously one thing because that's, needed. But I think the deeper impact also, so maybe that would be more of the resources, what you're saying, and I think that's actually true. I am creating actually it's gonna be printed soon. I have a resource that I've written. So I think that will broaden my impact. And I think it's just going to be a whole new thing because that's not obviously one-on-one client coaching, but it is a platform that I've created to, expand my messaging, my systems, and all of that. Um, but so, and also stronger education and a broader outreach in general. So kind of maybe back to the social media part, because that's obviously a great place for that to happen. But finding your niche. And so one of the things I did recently was create an avatar for my person, because, it's kind of like, um, somebody said to me recently, said, well, who is it that's swimming to you? Who do you see swimming to you the most? And so I had to kind of think about that and isolate, well, who is it? Because if you're not, if you try to be for everybody, you're for nobody. You've
Mhm.
heard that before.
Yeah.
And so scaling according to my avatar is like completely changed everything. It's
Yeah.
actually been a pretty recent thing, but it has made the biggest difference, because then I realized I'm just trying to find that one person, and she's
Yeah.
actually trying to find me too. And I only need to speak to her. I don't need to speak to everybody, because that wore
Yeah.
me down and made me feel like diluted, like it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say, but who wants to hear anything? Oh, I'm speaking to that person, and that person wants to hear me. So that was a helpful thing for me. But so anyway, so growth would be really all around those things, all of those things. But I I love just I love the discussion of growth in general, and also thinking about ways, because when you really in coaching, you're talking about growth strategy in a person. And so when you're sort of applying that to your business model, it's kind of fun, because you're like, wait, this actually very relevant, it's very similar, and how can I do that in my business and make it grow too? So anyway, those are some of the specific things that I'm trying to do, but it's hard to put numbers on it all, but it is definitely something I'll know when it happens.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That is very interesting. It definitely is a you had mentioned like having an avatar, creating that like ideal client profile that you're looking for, and that, yeah, like you said, honestly, they're looking for you too. And that is so important. That is such a golden nugget for so many businesses, is really kind of dialing in and really focusing on who exactly are they trying to talk to, and who are they trying to target, and getting that. That's really cool to hear. And I'm glad it's been successful. It's been able to bring more clarity, I'm sure, and more growth. And so, yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. And so I wanted to know, is there a like a sales or capacity challenge that you believe must be solved before reaching that next level of growth?
Well, I think for me, and I don't know if this is a perfect answer to your question, but um, for me, it's been asking for help and delegating, focusing my energy where I bring the most value personally. So it's not really been so much in the systems and operations in the background. I think I mentioned earlier, I feel like I have only to just really begun to actually access the full capacity. Like I'm not even close to it now, but I'm getting there. I'm realizing, oh wait, I can do this. Oh wait, I can actually do more. Oh yeah, I can actually do more with those tools. Like they're, kind of like I said, when we have something that we are using, sometimes it's us that doesn't realize, oh, I could be using that even more. It itself didn't change. I changed a little bit, because now I've been using it and I realize, oh, I've not even been using it to full capacity. And now I can find other ways to implement what I already have to actually leverage the scalability of my endeavors. And so I think that's probably my biggest has been my biggest challenge, but I'm beginning to really see how to, adjust and figure that out, and it's coming together.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense, and that is really really awesome to really zone in and focus on the things that, really move the needle, and the things that really actually make the difference, and then those things that you don't need to do, or things you can delegate, you do that. That leaves you with the more important time to do the things that actually, yeah, actually bring that growth. And so, yeah, no, that's super cool. Well, Shelley, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. The insights you brought, I think, are super valuable. I think our listeners will have a great time listening to it. Before we go, could you please share with our listeners where they can find more out about Shelley Christian Coaching and learn more about your services?
Yeah, of course. So I have a website, shelleychristencoaching.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, Shelley Kristen Coaching, and that's ShelleyKristen, in case that helps. And I'm at Shelley Kristen _ life on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook, Shelley Kristen Coaching.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. To close, I'd like to ask one last question. Since this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast, and you being a business leader, having your own coaching business, can you please share what would legacy do you want to leave behind?
Oh, I think it would be the impact of changing people, helping people go through the change process. Not that I'm changing them, but working with people in the change process that helps them access the person that they want to be, the version that they actually are clearly identifying with internally, but they need help maybe bringing that out in maybe it's a physiological issue or whatever the case is, but be, kind of walking alongside people when they're going through that change process is absolutely wonderful. So I think the legacy would be seeing that occurring and being a part of that. It would be a wonderful thing to continue to see happen.
Yeah. No, well, thank you. That is really cool to hear. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the insights you brought. To all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. This is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.